Hello YouTube, another video on my CVT Insight. This is the only video on YouTube that is probably going to show a first generation Insight CVT with the pedal floored wide open throttle from a light. Why am I doing this? Well, I don't know. Part of the discussion, this video, the purpose of this video is to talk about the differences of the CVT versus 5-speed transmission options in the first generation Honda Insight. So we do have it in second mode, not sport mode. It is second mode. If you called it sport mode, that would belie the idea that this car is going for maximum MPG. So in the manual, they call it second mode, which is really sport mode. They're very clear about how it makes it accelerate better. Let's see how she does here. 3, 2, 1, turn green. Full throttle. All right, that's enough. So, not exhilarating by any means, but fun for sure. So, yeah, I wanted to devote this video to talking about the difference between the manual and CVT. These are first generation Insights. This is something that will probably be interesting to about 78 people on YouTube, and that's fine. I enjoy talking about it. And it is hotly debated among the already strange group of people that own first-gen Insights. The manual transmission is widely considered to be the better option because of its far superior gas mileage and the fact that you get the extra weirdness in an already weird, quirky car, the Gen 1 Insight. You get the extra weirdness of the car having a 5-speed, which is really rare in hybrid cars. Really rare in any car these days, but especially in hybrids. There's only a few that do it. The CRZ and the first gen Civic hybrid being the other two that I'm aware of. So the CVT, I've had 3 manual transmission Gen 1 Insights, and this is my first CVT. And it's, you know, again, kind of not real loved in the community, just because the whole point of a Honda Insight Generation 1 is good gas mileage. So why would you put in a CVT and hamper that? Which kind of makes sense. You know, CVT wasn't even offered in 2000 when they first came out with the Insight. It was such a no compromise car that you couldn't even get an automatic transmission. The only option was a manual. The only option in those cars was air conditioning or not. That was it. They were all manuals. But at some point in 01 or 02, I think it was 01, they offered the CVT. And this car is a 2002 CVT with 115,000 miles and lifetime MPG of 58. I'm a little under that right now because I've been flooring it and using air conditioning. But in any case, both transmissions are fragile. They are known for being fragile. Synchro issues in the manuals. The CVTs are finicky. It was one of the earliest CVTs anyway of any car. I won't go into that, but just to say that both cars are known for having issues. As you saw, this one accelerates very smoothly. I've done a transmission flush, did the burnishing procedure, and a few other things that get it to its optimal condition. So, I just have 3 talking points after that introduction. I want to talk about the contrast of the two now that I've put about 350 miles on this car so far, and did about 200 before I reset the odometer there. So I have three ideas here as we talk about the two transmissions. And the first is that the CVT is far more relaxing. The second is that the CVT is far more like a normal car. And the third is that the manual is more engaging, fun, and has better gas mileage. So we'll talk about the first, which is the CVT is more relaxing to drive. Now, what do I mean by that? Again, this is only going to make sense to a few people that actually care about these cars. You might say, of course, an automatic transmission or a CVT is going to be more relaxing. But let me talk about what I mean by that. I'm not just talking about having to shift or not. I'm talking about when you're in an Insight, most people that are driving one are thinking about achieving maximum fuel economy, MPGs. So, for example, when you're in a 5-speed and you're going up a hill, you are feathering that throttle. You might even be losing speed, so you can keep yourself in lean burn or keep the FCD meter where it is now. So when you're in the CVT, you have far less of a decision about gear shifting and that sort of thing because you're not shifting gears. So for example, when you're going uphill, you're not, you don't have to think about those kinds of things. So there's far less thinking involved, which makes the driving experience, I have found, more relaxing. When I'm in my manual transmission Insights, I'm just kind of always thinking about gas mileage and, going up, you're planning your route. The CVT, I find myself not doing that. Not that I don't care. I do care about the gas mileage. Maybe it's just that I've accepted that it's going to be lower. And by the way, 58 EPA, that's still pretty darn good. This car, again, has a 58.5 lifetime over 21 years. That is outstanding gas mileage. 58 is just great. So, but in the manual, it's like the gearing is so long in the manual, and they did that to achieve maximum MPGs. But because of that, you really have to think when you shift. And if you shift at the wrong time in the manual transmission, you're going to get in a situation where you have no torque. So you really have to plan. You're constantly thinking about when you're going to shift, in order to A, have torque, and B, try to achieve better gas mileage. For example, the manual, you got to be above about 13 miles per hour before you go into second gear. If you're not, the car has zero torque. So with a CVT, it's just relaxing because none of those thoughts are on your mind. And then the other thing about it being more relaxing in the CVT is that the regeneration, I have found, is different. In the manual transmission Honda Insight, it's very, the regen happens in spurts. For example, when you're going downhill, it kicks in. When you downshift, it kicks in. With the CVT, it's very linear and much more natural the way the car regenerates. I'm talking about both regenerative braking when you push the pedal and regenerative braking when you don't push the pedal. So because of that, it's way more linear, and the driving experience is just more relaxing because of that, I have found, in my, again, few hundred miles of owning and driving this car. Okay, so that's point number one, just that the CVT is far more relaxing to drive for those reasons. The next thing is that the CVT is a lot more like a normal car. It's just easier to enjoy. Again, you might say, well, it's because you're not shifting yourself. But it's, it's more like a normal car. It's easier to enjoy. Versus in the manual transmission, again, you're just always, me anyway, and most Insight drivers are going for really good MPGs. With this car, it's kind of like you just realize, hey, I'm going to get probably somewhere in the 50s. 60s is possible. I've read of some people getting even higher than that. But most of the folks driving CVTs are going to tell you they're around town driving MPG is somewhere in the mid 50s, low 50s, high 50s, depending on climate, where you're going, all those different variables. So because of that, what I've found is that I kind of just accept. You just kind of accept that you're going to get somewhere in the 50s, and you're kind of feel like you're kind of driving a normal car, and that makes it, that's not a plus or minus. It's just the CVT is just way less quirky because of all those reasons. And then the final thing I will talk about here is the manual transmission, just contrasting manual and CVT Insight Gen 1s. Is definitely far more of a quirky experience. It's more engaging, maybe more fun if you like shifting gears, if you like not having the car shift for you. It's it's a more engaging experience, and let's just, here's the bottom line. You're going to get far better gas mileage in the manual transmission. So if you're going for that, if you're going for gas mileage, if you're going for the quirkiness, if you're going for being able to say, hey, I got 80 miles per gallon, you definitely want the manual, because that kind of thing just isn't going to happen in a CVT. The EPA for this car is 57, 58, I think, maybe 56, 57, whereas the EPA for the manual was 61 city and 70 highway. So, most people are going to tell you, again, most normal people in a CVT, they're getting somewhere in the 50s. Most normal people driving in a manual transmission, they're getting somewhere in the 60s. And the reason for that, kind of last thing, is the lean burn. So the CVT does have the auto stop. It does have, the aerodynamic, the drag coefficient of 0.25. But what it doesn't have is the lean burn technology, which the manual transmission car has. And I will say, I drove this a couple hundred miles, and my manual sat in my driveway. Then I got back in the manual, and I remembered, lean burn. And lean burn is, I won't go into it in this video, but it's where I'll just describe it as a person driving the car. You're driving the car, and all of a sudden, the meter here, the FCD, fuel consumption display meter, it just suddenly hops up to 150, and this is doing that now, but it's because I'm coasting downhill. But you can feel something happening when the car enters lean burn. It's sort of, it's basically sipping fumes of gas going along, and it can actually maintain acceleration going up a hill and still stay in lean burn, and the car's getting 100 plus miles per gallon. And the CVT simply just can't do that. And again, this is it's kind of something you don't know until you drive and own the car. But when the car enters lean burn, you just feel it. It feels, there's a certain way it feels. Having driven these for 2.5, 3 years, I can say that you definitely know when it's happening. And the CVT doesn't have that. So because of that, CVT is going to get far less gas mileage than the manual transmission. So that's the third difference, really, is just that MPG factor. Overall, as I've said in all my videos on this car, I love the CVT. It's wonderful. After hopping back in my manual the other day, I'm definitely a manual guy. But this is to be praised. It's a great option, and there is no shame, guys. There is no shame in 58.5 miles per gallon over 115,000 miles. That is phenomenal. So I don't know that there's any car that's doing that these days. I mean, maybe there's some newer hybrids that are, but getting up close to 60 mpgs is crazy. Crazy good. So there's no shame in driving a CVT as long as you don't mind getting the crazy MPGs and having that experience of shifting yourself, and that's definitely more engaging. Hey, thanks for watching. Longer video here, but I thought this would be a worthy discussion as we drive around and head west on the interstate here in the CVT. All right, leave your comments if you have them. Great discussion for all of us Insight nerds. Thanks for watching. Peace.